Bula, everyone. So why do people visit Fiji? We heard from Sharon that our online presence is about beaches, but we all know that there are much nicer beaches in New Zealand and Australia. And it's not about price. We are one of the more expensive destinations. Our chef is going to convince you that it's because of our food. And Deborah wants you to think it's because of spas. But I will argue that more and more tourists are coming to Fiji because of our environment and because of our cultural heritage. Our most valuable natural resource is our ocean. So the ocean that laps the shores of California to the east and the shores of Australia to the west. It is the ocean around our islands that attracts guests to Fiji. Why do they come for this ocean environment? It's really, we're pretty lucky that our ocean is relatively pristine. And this is all due to a traditional management system that's been going on for centuries. Just a little note here. There's a survey that was done on visitors to the Great Barrier Reef. 69% of them say they were motivated because they felt a fear that the reef would no longer be there. So they were motivated to go and see it for the last time. So this is the Flemmer Network. This is, as I said earlier, an age-old traditional Fijian marine conservation system. It has been proven so successful that it has been exported all over the world, to Australia, New Zealand, around Asia. Why aren't we telling the world about this amazing traditional conservation system that we have for protecting our environment? Looking at the chart, it is wonderful to see that there's good representation from the tourism hotspots in the Mamanudas, Yasawas, Coral Coast, and Kandavu. But are we doing enough? Why isn't the tourism industry pouring more resources into protecting our most valuable ocean? So this is our little Tambu area, which is 7.5 square kilometers around Leleuvia. It's over 60 times the area of the island. Because we have boats, we have the resources, we have fuel, crew. We police this Tambu area 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And together with neighboring resorts, Dangalai and Tombarua, and villages on Bau and Moturiki, we police the entire Bau waters area for illegal fishing. Other resorts could do the same all over Fiji by partnering with their Golingoli owners and providing resources to protect that natural resource that we all have. Increasingly, the threat is coming from the urban areas. We see illegal fishing boats coming all the way from 85 kilometers away, and we see them going further afield to Wakaya and up into the Vatira, which is hundreds of miles away from Suva. So they're going further and further afield to find, and they like marine protected areas because there's plenty of fish. So apart from policing the Tambu, carry out activities for the guests, such as coral farming, which is not just an activity, but is a way of showing how fragile the reef is and how fragile coral. There's a way of building awareness, not only with the guests, but with our staff, and it helps us provide maintenance on the reef, and it helps us to convert our staff and our guests to become ocean ambassadors as well. So they leave our shores having a much better appreciation for the marine environment and the ways that we're protecting it and looking after it. 4 years ago, we were asked to participate in a turtle tagging program with SPREP and the Fisheries Department. We've tagged nearly 100 turtles at Leleuvia, including one with a GPS tracker, which is currently being tracked from a station in Moorea, Tahiti. One of the areas that conservation work does is it's also about working with the communities in the area. So a lot of these projects that we do with the communities in Motuiki. Let's face it, without a clean and vibrant ocean, our tourism industry will lose its biggest draw card. So apart from our beautiful marine environment, we also have our unique Fijian cultural heritage. When we started building in 2012, we decided very early on that we would build everything as traditionally as possible. Our team provided the pine structure you see in the photo, everything bolted together, and we handed this over to the traditional builders from Motuiki. 8 different villages were contracted to provide materials, skills, labor for 20 buras and 2 20-bed dormitories. Spreading the love also meant that we were getting more communities into relearning their traditional skills. In the first year alone, $400,000 was injected into the small Motuiki economy. This included the purchase of building materials, contract labor, and skills for building the buras, food supplies, including fresh fruit and vegetables and fresh fish. So all the contracted groups included elders and unemployed youth, with skill transfer from the elders to the youth. For most of the villages, these skills had never been used in their lifetime, especially the youth. And for the elders, it hadn't been practiced for years. There's a perception that the only people left in the village are unskilled, but it's amazing what skills you can find in the villages. Many of the contracted villagers stayed on after construction phase to work as full-time employees. They became boat drivers, maintenance workers, cooks, bar and restaurant staff, and even dive instructors. Skilled tradesmen from Fulanga provided the amazing mangi-mangi work all around the resort. There's a bit of a sad story here, because the young man who did all the amazing mangi-mangi work at Leleuvia later asked if he could stay on and learn to become a dive instructor. He felt that there was no future in continuing his mangi-mangi trade. As they say in rugby, use it or lose it. So this exercise saw a resurgence in bure building in our area, particularly on Motuiki, and even the neighboring resort, Tangalai, replaced all their corrugated iron roof buildings with bures using the same labor and skill from Motuiki. So this is a fairly large building that we built later on in the construction phase. Included an 80-seat restaurant, bar, kitchen, office, gift shop, and the Leleuvia gallery, which I'm going to talk about next. Why is it that the majority of our Fijian hotels and resorts are decorated with imported art when we have such an abundance of local talent here in Fiji? This Leleuvia collective was formed in 2013 to promote the artwork of local artists. We have over 30 artists in the collective and growing. More than 75% of these artists solely rely on art for a living, so they feed their families through art. Leleuvia will host 6 exhibitions. This is our calendar for the year. At least 2 of these will be traveling to the west. These exhibitions will include visual art, spoken word, and storytelling. So in 2014, the Utanyalo carried a Leleuvia exhibition to the IUCN World Parks Congress in Sydney, all doing this fossil fuel free, using only wind and solar power. In September and October, We'll be bringing a traveling exhibition to the Mamanudas using the Utunialo. So please, everyone, please support our local artists and buy local art in Nakavakalevu.